The first time I saw the number on the paper, my hands went cold. It was written in a tight, neat script, an account number, an old bank branch name, and the word safe underlined 3 times. I remember standing in my kitchen, the kettle hissing, and thinking I must be dreaming. I had come to clear out a box of old letters after my husband died. I did not expect to find a secret that would turn my whole life inside out. Before I tell you what was inside that account, please do me a favor. If you like true stories like this, hit the subscribe button, press the like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part. Drop a quick comment telling me which part of the country you're watching from. I read every comment and I want to know who is with me. Now let me take you back to the moment that started everything. I held the paper against the light. The ink looked faded but real. The number matched a bank we had used many years ago when my husband worked in the city. I found the paper tucked at the back of a worn leather wallet inside the box. The wallet belonged to my husband, the one he kept in the drawer by his side of the bed. I had looked in that drawer 100 times since the funeral. I had not seen this wallet before. The kitchen felt too small. I walked outside and sat on the old garden bench. The birds were quiet. The paper was the size of my palm, but its weight felt like a stone. I called the bank with shaking fingers. The voice on the line asked for the account number. I gave it slowly. They told me the account was still open. They asked if I wanted information. My throat closed. I said yes. The woman at the bank gave me a balance. I laughed, a short, stunned laugh. It was more money than I could imagine. So much that it did not belong in the quiet life we had. There could be a mistake, I told her. My husband never talked about this. She said the bank could mail me a statement if I wanted proof. I told her to hold on. I needed to think. How did my husband have so much hidden away? Why never tell me? I thought about the life we had built. Small house, careful bills, the way he fixed things with a smile, how he kept his coins in a jar for special days. He was a gentleman. He hummed when he worked in the yard. He never liked big talk. I remember the last argument we had, barely an argument, a night about how to spend money for our daughter's schooling. He simply said, "We'll manage." He always said that. He never mentioned a secret account. I put the paper back on the table and opened that old wallet again. There, under a folded receipt, was a smaller scrap with a name, L.M., and a city I did not recognize. There was also a photograph, slipped between 2 receipts, of my husband in a suit I had never seen. He was younger, yes, but his smile in that photo was not the same as his usual smile. It had a shadow in it, a look that made my stomach drop. I kept thinking of the money number and the photo, and a memory climbed up from the past. Small, blurry, like a film I hadn't watched in years. Years ago, before the town had the new supermarket and before the children had grown, my husband used to take morning trains to the city. He said they were for work. Sometimes he came home late, smelling of coffee and smoke. Once, I found a matchbook from a club I did not know. I had asked and he said, it was for business. I had believed him. I had loved him. Now those memories felt different. They felt like pieces of a puzzle that did not fit the picture I had carried for 25 years. I tried to sleep that night and failed. My mind ran like water over rocks. Every small thing my husband had said, every small secret he had kept because he thought it would protect me. Was this money his protection? Or was it something more dangerous? I thought of our daughter. She was at university 300 miles away. If this account was real, it could change her life and mine. It could also break us. The next morning, I dressed slowly and walked to the town. The bank was the same building with the green door and the marble steps. The clerk recognized me. She looked sorry when she saw my face. I handed her the paper. This belongs to my husband, I told her. The clerk led me into a small room. She asked for proof of identity, for a death certificate, for papers I did not have in my bag. While she spoke, my eyes kept darting to a small plaque on the wall. Names of people honored for donations. One name in the middle of the plaque was familiar. It had my husband's initials. But he never spoke at those events, never wrote his name on a plaque. Why would his initials be there? The clerk left to check the account. I sat on the thin chair and chewed my lip. The room seemed to close around me. When she came back, she had a folder. Inside was a photocopy of a signature that matched my husband's, and a list of recent deposits and withdrawals. The numbers at the top made my head spin. Hundreds of thousands. The list showed transfers that had come from places I had never heard of. The account had been active right up until last month. I asked who the transfers were from. The clerk politely said some transfers were marked confidential and that she could give only limited information without proper authorization. I realized I needed documents I did not have and permission I did not expect. May I see the name tied to the account? I asked. She hesitated, then slid a paper across to me. The name on the account was not my husband's full name. It was an alias, a shorter version, used once he had to sign things quickly. People use nicknames, I told myself. But then I saw a new entry in the folder, beneficiary, account holder's niece. That made me sit up. My daughter is his daughter, not a niece. And my husband's sister had no children. The paper did not make sense. Outside the bank, the afternoon sun felt harsh. I walked to the bus stop and called my daughter. She spoke in a sleepy voice, and when I told her to come home, she answered with a question. Is Dad? Her voice broke and she hung up. I stood on the pavement, the paper burning a line into my pocket. I began to ask neighbors, friends, people who had known us for years. Some looked at me with kind eyes. Some looked away. They remembered my husband as a man who worked hard and gave to small causes in town. A few said, he helped with the church. One woman said, he gave quietly. He always gave quietly. Another asked if I was sure I should look further. That question felt strange. Why would anyone tell me to stop? That night, I opened the folder again and looked at each line as if it were a face. There was a transfer to a company with a foreign name. There was a note that said, consulting fee. There was another that said, for safe keeping. There were dates that matched holidays when my husband had been away. There were also entries labeled with initials that matched the name on the scrap of paper in his wallet. L.M. My mind raced. What if he had a life that included meetings and people I did not know? What if some of this money was not just savings but payments for things that belonged behind closed doors? I felt small and foolish for loving a man I now knew in parts, not whole. And then, the last page of the folder had a different kind of paper. It was a notarized form. It declared that the account contained an asset that was not just cash. The form used formal language I could barely follow. But in the middle of the sentence, in bold, it said, confidential contents include, and then a line with a name I did not expect. The name was my name. I read it twice. My name, written there, with a phrase that made my eyes sting. To be disclosed to named person upon death. The paper said I should be told. But no one had told me. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I folded the paper, and in a moment I did not plan, I ran my fingers through the photograph again. The younger man in the suit looked back with that strange smile. Behind him, in the blurred background, was a faint shape, a building I thought looked like a hospital. My head filled with questions, hot and sharp. I had already found the bank account. I had already been shown that something inside involved my name. I had already begun to suspect that my husband had lived pieces of his life in secret. But I did not yet know why he had hidden the money, who L.M. was, or what that building meant. The bank clerk had refused to give me full details. Someone out there must know more. Someone out there had put my name in a paper, and that someone had chosen not to tell me. I looked up at the moon through the window and swore to myself, quiet, hard, that I would find out the truth. But even as I made that promise, a far-off ringing came to my ears. A single phone call had been placed to my house while I was at the bank. The caller had left no message. When I checked the call log, there was only one number I did not recognize, and when I dialed it, The line went dead before anyone answered. That night, I lay awake, the house full of quiet and shadows. The secret account waited like a closed door in my life. I had the key, the paper, the number, the folder. But I did not know which lock it opened. I did not know whether the key would free me or trap me. Tomorrow, I thought, I would go back to the bank. I would ask harder questions. I would show them the notarized form. I would demand to know who L.M. was and why my name was on that paper. Then the phone rang. I stopped breathing. You. The phone cut through the quiet like a shout. I sat up so fast the sheet slid from my knees. My heart ran like a frightened bird. The light on the bedside table blinked. The clock read 2:17 a.m. My hands were not steady as I reached for the phone. Hello, I said, my voice small. On the other end there was a breath, a pause, then a man's voice, not one I knew. It was low, careful. Do not go to the bank tomorrow, he said. Leave the papers where they are. Forget what you saw. Who is this? I asked. My throat felt dry. There was a click. The line went dead. I held the phone and my body felt hollow inside. My first thought was that someone was playing a mean joke. My second thought was that I was in danger. I thought of the money, the folder, the name L.M., and the notarized paper that had my name on it. I thought of my husband's quiet mouth and the way he had smiled when he fixed the kitchen tap. I thought of the photograph in his wallet with the hospital in the blur behind him. I did not sleep the rest of the night. At dawn I made tea with hands that would not stop trembling. I dressed and called my daughter. She answered, her voice sharper now because she had woken up. I told her to come home. She promised she would. I told her nothing else on the phone. I could not decide what to say to her that would not alarm her. When she arrived, we sat at the kitchen table and I showed her the folder. Her face went white when she saw the numbers. This is too much, she said. She covered her mouth with one hand. Mother, why would he hide this? How would I know? I said. I found it in his wallet. We agreed we should go back to the bank together. I felt safer with her there. On the drive, I watched her hands on the steering wheel. She hummed quietly to herself, as if she tried to keep both of us calm. At the bank we were met by the same clerk, who put us in the small room again. She said that to get full access we needed a death certificate, a will, and legal authorization for disclosure. I asked if there was any record of the safe deposit boxes or any holdings linked to the account. She said there was a note, C Box 7B, authorized access upon presentation of signed form. The clerk unfolded a copy. On it, in my husband's handwriting, were my initials and a date 2 years ago. My hands went cold. How did he sign this? I whispered. The clerk looked at us with polite sympathy. If you want to open a box, you will need 2 forms of ID and the signature card found in his file. We can start the process, but it may take time. Time, I thought, was something I did not have. The unknown caller had told me to forget what I had seen. Someone knew. Someone was watching. My daughter reached across the table and took my hand. We will do this, she said. Her voice was steady. I believed her. We left the bank with a promise that they would begin the paperwork. Outside, the air felt sharp. A man in a black coat passed too close to us on the sidewalk. He did not look at us. He walked with his head down. I felt a prickle on my skin and could not help but follow him with my eyes until a corner hid him. That afternoon I went through more of my husband's things. I found work receipts, a small stack of letters with foreign stamps, and a business card with the name Lawrence Morton. The name made my hands shake. Lawrence. The initials L. M. matched. I put the card in my pocket and ran my thumb over it as if I could read more than the printing allowed. At dusk, I drove to the address on the business card. It was a small office building with frosted glass. A woman at reception said Mr. Morton no longer worked there but had used the address for years. She told me to wait. She returned with a folder of photocopied invoices and a note, consulting, L. Morton. The invoices were for sums that matched some transfers in the bank folder. There were other names, too, companies in the city and places that paid for quiet services. I left the building with more questions than answers. That night I dreamed of numbers marching across the ceiling like ants. I woke with the image of a key in my hand. The next morning a letter had arrived, though I had not ordered anything. It was a plain envelope with no return address. Inside was a small slip of paper. 3 words were written in hurried, dark letters. Leave it alone. I held the paper until it blurred. Someone wanted me to stop. Someone wanted the bank account to stay secret. My daughter said we should go to the police. I wanted to, but 100 small fears crowded my mind. What proof did I have that a crime had been committed? What if my husband had done nothing wrong and I ruined his name for nothing? The unknown caller had threatened me. The letter had warned me. The clerk had been polite but distant. The world felt like a machine with gears I did not know how to turn. We went to the local police station. The officer on duty listened and took notes. He was a kind man with tired eyes. He said he would file a report, but without proof of a crime it might be only a record. We will keep watch, ma'am, he said. If you get calls, tell us. On the way home my daughter squeezed my hand. We will go slow, she said. We get the papers right, we do this right. I nodded but could not shake the fear that a wrong move would close a door forever. 2 days later the bank called and said the paperwork had been found. There was a signature card for a safe deposit box. We were told to come between 9 a.m. and noon. My stomach turned a dozen times on the drive. The clerk led us to a room with a steel vault and a key the size of my palm. The vault door was heavy. It closed with a sound like a judge slamming a gavel. They opened box 7B. Inside was a small leather portfolio wrapped in brown tape. My hands felt numb as the clerk set it on the table. My daughter watched me with eyes that asked me to be brave. I reached out and felt the tape, the leather, the faint scent of old paper. I undid the tape and lifted the flap. Inside was a stack of envelopes tied with a ribbon. On the top envelope, in my husband's handwriting, was my name. My chest tightened. I slit it open. A single sheet unfolded. It was a letter. The first line read, "For you when I am gone. Forgive me." My breath stopped. I read on. The letter spoke of debts and promises. It spoke of a life my husband had not told me about. It spoke of a hospital room and a name I did not know at first. A child he had spoken for, briefly, once, many years ago. The letter said he had taken responsibility for something terrible to protect someone else. He had hidden money. He had prepared for me to know only after his death if I could bear it. My eyes blurred. The words wrapped around my heart and squeezed. There was one more thing tucked into the portfolio behind the letter. A small, sealed metal tin, its surface worn, with my daughter's initials scratched faintly on the lid. My hands froze above it. How could it be? Why would my daughter's initials be on something my husband had hidden? Before I could touch the tin, the vault room door opened and 2 men in suits stepped in. They did not smile. One held a badge. The other held an envelope marked with the same bank branch stamp. The taller man looked at me slowly. "Mrs." he began, speaking my family name, and then he said words that made the room tilt. "You were not supposed to see this yet," he said. "That tin must never be opened. Not by you. Not by anyone." My hand closed on the ribbon in my fingers. The tin sat cold and small on the table like a sleeping thing. My daughter's mouth formed a small sound. The 2 men stepped closer, but before either could reach the table the lights in the vault flickered. Then, in the dim, a third sound cut into the room. A phone on the clerk's desk began to ring. The number flashing on its small screen was the same unfamiliar number that had called me at night. The taller man looked at me with a face that had no mercy in it. "Answer it," he said. "Now." My throat closed. I could not move. The phone kept ringing. The tin waited like a secret. Outside, through the small high window, a black car pulled up and stopped, its engine humming. The vault door seemed suddenly too small to hold what had come into our lives. My hand trembled toward the phone. I could feel the whole world focusing on the sound. I lifted the handset, and a voice I had never heard before spoke my name. "Open the tin," it said. "Open it now or she dies." I froze. The vault felt colder, as if someone had opened a window to winter. My fingers tightened on the phone. The voice on the other end was calm, too calm, a kind of calm that comes from someone who knows exactly how much fear they control. Who are you talking about?" I whispered. The man in the suit stepped closer. "Do not answer any questions," he said. His voice was low but firm. "Hang up the phone." But the voice inside the receiver spoke again, sharper this time. "If you put the phone down, she won't make it out of the building." My daughter. My knees nearly gave way. I looked at her, standing only a few steps behind me, her eyes wide and wet. She didn't know what the caller had said, but she knew enough to be afraid. I held my breath. "What do you want?" I asked the voice. "To protect you," the voice said. "To protect what he left behind. Open the tin." The man in the suit reached out, grabbing the phone from my hand, but the caller must have heard the movement. "One more step," the voice growled, "and the girl dies first." My daughter clutched my arm. "Mom," she whispered. "What's happening?" I shook my head. I didn't have answers. Only a storm of fear. The men in suits exchanged a look, not angry, not impatient, but troubled, as if they knew more than they were allowed to say. The man holding the badge stepped forward. "We are federal investigators," he said quietly. "Your husband was involved with something extremely sensitive. That tin contains classified material." "Classified?" I repeated. "My husband fixed bicycles for the neighbors. He planted tomatoes. He also worked undercover," the taller agent interrupted. "Your husband was not who you thought he was." My chest tightened. The room shrank. My husband. Undercover. That secret account. The money. The strange photograph. The initials LM. It all twisted together like a net tightening around my mind. The phone crackled. "If they take that tin," the voice hissed, "everything he died for will be lost. Choose." The vault lights flickered again. My daughter gripped my hand so hard my fingers went numb. I could feel her shaking. Fear has a sound, a smell, a weight. I felt all of it pressing on my skin. I looked at the tin on the table. Small. Harmless. Yet everyone, the agents, the caller, even my husband from beyond the grave, pointed toward it. "Step away from the table," the taller agent instructed. His voice was steady, but something in his eyes trembled. "No," the caller said through the phone, harsher now. "Move closer. Open it. Now." "Mom, don't," my daughter whispered. But then, something unexpected happened. The tin jerked. I blinked. No one had touched it. And yet, it moved. Just an inch. But I saw it. "What was that?" my daughter gasped. The taller agent cursed under his breath. "It's triggered," he said. "We need to evacuate now." Triggered? What did that mean? The phone caller shouted into the receiver, "Open it now." But the line crackled violently, and suddenly the call dropped, silence swallowing the last command. Then a soft, rhythmic clicking came from inside the tin. Tick, tick, tick. A timer. The agents backed up fast. "Get behind us," the tall one yelled. My daughter screamed, grabbing my arm. The clicking grew louder, faster. My heartbeat pounded so hard it hurt. But then, everything stopped. No clicking. No sound. The vault went dead silent. The taller agent stepped forward slowly, inch by inch, as if the air itself could explode. He rested one hand on the table, eyes fixed on the tin. With his other hand, he reached up and wiped a bead of sweat from his eyebrow. And then he said something that froze the blood in my veins. This isn't a bomb. It's a locator. Someone now knows exactly where we are. My daughter looked at me, terror hollowing her voice. Mom. Who is coming? Before I could speak, the vault door shuddered violently. Once, twice, as if someone was ramming it from the outside. The lights flickered. A deep mechanical groan echoed through the room. Then the tall agent looked at me and whispered, almost too quietly to hear. They're not supposed to know she's alive. She. I repeated. He stared at my daughter. Then the vault door slammed again, harder this time. A crack formed in the metal frame. My daughter stepped backward until she was against the wall. Mom, she whispered, trembling. What are they talking about? Why are they looking at me? I couldn't answer. Because at that moment, I wasn't sure of anything. Not the truth. Not the danger. Not even who my husband really was. The vault door hid again. Boom. Bending inward. The agents drew their weapons. The tin glowed faintly, a soft blue light spilling from its edges. My daughter screamed and pointed. Mom. Something's inside it, moving. Before any of us could react, the remnants of the phone in my hand buzzed with one final incoming message, a text from the same unknown number. Protect the girl. They're here. Then the vault door exploded inward. The door didn't just break, it burst inward like a storm, metal twisting, hinges flying, dust blowing across the vault like a wave. My daughter screamed. I shielded her with my body as the two agents raised their weapons. Shapes stepped through the smoke. Not police. Not security. These men wore no badges, no uniforms, only black clothing, thick gloves, and masks that covered everything but their eyes. And their eyes, cold, sharp, trained. One of them pointed directly at my daughter. There, he said. Take her. The taller agent fired first. The sound exploded off the steel walls. The masked men moved with frightening speed, spreading out, pushing toward us. The shorter agent shoved us behind a metal cabinet. Stay low, he shouted. My heart hammered in my ears. My daughter clung to me, sobbing. I pulled her close, covering her head with my arms. The tin on the table continued to glow with that strange blue light, brighter now, almost pulsing like a heartbeat. A man lunged toward the table. The tall agent tackled him. The two crashed to the floor, rolling, grunting, fists striking metal and flesh. Another masked man slipped around the side, coming straight toward us. My daughter's hand tightened around my wrist. Mom. I'm scared. The agent beside us fired again, sending sparks off the vault's walls. They're after her, he hissed. We have to move. Why? I cried. Why her? What do they want with my child? He didn't answer. He couldn't. Another explosion rocked the vault, this time from behind the masked intruders. A flashbang. Deafening. I covered my daughter's ears as white light swallowed the room. The tall agent shoved us toward the back exit, a maintenance door I hadn't even noticed. Go now, he yelled. I'll hold them. My daughter and I stumbled through the small doorway into a narrow concrete corridor. Pipes ran along the low ceiling. Alarms wailed overhead. My legs trembled as we ran, but the shorter agent stayed behind us, pushing us forward. Don't stop, he said. They won't hurt you, but they will take her. Why? I asked again, breathless. What is she to them? We reached a locked door at the end of the corridor. The agent swiped a card, breath quick and tight. Your husband left something behind, he said. Something we thought was gone. My husband fixed tools, I snapped. He planted gardens. The agent looked at my daughter, then back at me. His voice dropped to almost a whisper. He was undercover for 16 years. Deep cover. There were things he couldn't tell you. Things that involved people who do not forgive. And do not forget. My stomach twisted. What does this have to do with my daughter? Before he could reply, Footsteps thundered in the corridor behind us. They were coming. The agent shoved open the door, and we spilled out onto a loading dock. Cold wind hit my face. A black SUV waited there, engine running. The agent pointed. "Get in." But then, a masked man burst through the doorway behind us. He moved faster than anyone I had ever seen. He grabbed my daughter's arm and yanked her back so hard she fell to her knees. "No!" I screamed, diving toward her. The agent fired. The bullet grazed the man's shoulder, but he didn't let go. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a syringe filled with something dark and thick. My daughter cried out, kicking, twisting. "Mom! Mom!" I lunged again, grabbing her waist. The masked man pulled harder. Her arms stretched toward me, fingers shaking, desperate. "Let her go!" I screamed. Then, from inside the vault, a sound like cracking ice echoed through the air. The tin. It glowed brighter, blazing blue-white, sending a pulse through the building like a shockwave. The masked man froze. For a moment his grip weakened, just enough for my daughter to wrench free and stumble into my arms. "What was that?" she whispered, eyes wide with terror. The agent didn't answer. He pushed us toward the SUV. "Get in the car. Now." We threw ourselves inside. He slammed the door shut and ran around to the driver's seat. But before he could start the engine, a shadow landed on the hood of the car, silently like a bird. A man, one of the intruders, crouched, staring straight through the windshield at my daughter. He tilted his head, studying her like she was something rare, something important. Then he mouthed 2 words. "Found you." The engine roared to life. The agent slammed his foot on the accelerator. The man on the hood didn't move. Instead, he placed one gloved hand against the glass and whispered something we could not hear, but my daughter understood. Her face went pale. "Mom," she whispered, voice cracking. He said, "I'm not supposed to exist." The SUV shot forward as the man rolled off the hood, but his words stayed behind, hanging in the air like smoke. Not supposed to exist. My daughter trembled in my arms, crying so hard she shook. I held her close, even as my own heart shattered. Because deep inside, beneath the fear, beneath the confusion, a terrible question took root. What had my husband done? And what truth was inside that glowing tin? That someone would kill to keep hidden? The SUV sped through the streets. Sirens rose behind us. And up ahead, blocking the road, 3 more black vehicles appeared, waiting for us. The SUV swerved hard to the right as the 3 black vehicles blocked the road ahead. Tires screeched. My daughter clung to me, shaking uncontrollably. The agent in the front seat muttered something under his breath and jerked the wheel again. "This is a trap," he said. "Hold on." We shot down a narrow side street, barely squeezing between 2 parked cars. The mirrors scraped. A shower of sparks flew. Behind us, engines roared. The masked men were chasing us, and they were closing in. My daughter pressed her face into my shoulder. "Mom, why are they doing this? Why me?" I wished I had an answer. I wished I could tell her everything was going to be fine. But the truth was, I had never been more afraid in my life. The agent spoke into a radio clipped to his jacket. "This is Unit 6. We need backup. We have the target and the subject. They found us." Static. No response. He tried again, louder. "Unit 6 requesting immediate." A bullet shattered the back window. Glass exploded into the car. My daughter screamed. I pulled her down onto the floor, shielding her. The agent swore and pushed the SUV faster. "We won't outrun them," he said. "Hold tight." He jerked the wheel again, racing into an underground parking garage. The sound of the echoing engine filled the dark concrete space. He killed the lights and slowed the SUV to a crawl. "Stay down," he whispered. We held our breath. The masked vehicles pulled into the garage seconds later. Their engines hummed like hungry animals. Doors opened. Footsteps echoed. They were searching for us. The agent shut off the engine completely. The SUV fell silent. My daughter buried her face against me, eyes wide, breath shaking. I held her hand tightly, trying to keep my own fear from showing. A deep voice echoed across the garage. Find the girl. Leave no one behind. The quiet that followed was worse than the shouting. The agent looked back at us. They're tracking something. Probably the tin. When that glow started, it must have sent a signal. But why her? I whispered. Why are they after a child? The agent hesitated, then said something that chilled me deeper than anything that had happened yet. She's not a child to them. She's a key. I stared at him. A key to what? Before he could answer, heavy footsteps stopped right beside the SUV. My heart froze. The agent raised a finger to his lips. Silence. A shadow crossed the broken back window. Someone was peering inside. My daughter trembled. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders, praying she wouldn't make a sound. The masked figure leaned closer. I could see the outline of his head, the gleam of his visor. He lifted a flashlight, slowly, aiming it through the broken glass. The beam was seconds away from finding us. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the far side of the garage. The masked men spun around. More noise followed, banging metal, shouts, something falling hard. Over there, one of them yelled. They ran toward the sound. The agent exhaled shakily. Someone's drawing them away, he whispered. We move now. We slipped out of the SUV and crouched behind a concrete pillar. My daughter clutched my hand with a strength I didn't know she had. We moved through the shadows, staying low, the agent constantly checking behind us. We reached a service door. The agent pushed it open, and there, standing in the dim hallway, was a man. Not masked. Not an agent. A stranger. Tall. Gray coat. Worn eyes. He held the tin in his hand, glowing faintly. My blood ran cold. How did you? The agent started. But the man raised a hand to silence him. She doesn't have much time, the stranger said, nodding toward my daughter. If you want to save her, you must listen. Both of you. I pulled my daughter closer. Who are you? The man stepped forward, slow and careful, as if approaching frightened animals. Your husband sent me, he said. Before he died. My heart slammed into my ribs. My husband. I whispered. Yes. The man's voice softened. He knew this day would come. He tried to stop it, but his work was unfinished. And now they want your daughter because she carries something they've been searching for. What? What does she carry? I demanded. The man looked at my daughter, not with fear, not with anger, but with something like sorrow. Something she was never meant to inherit, he said quietly. But it lives in her blood. My daughter grabbed my sleeve. Mom, what is he talking about? I shook my head, because I did not know. The stranger lifted the tin. The glow grew brighter. The agent tightened his grip on his weapon. What's inside the tin? The stranger took a breath. Inside this tin is the truth of who your husband really was. And the secret your daughter was born to carry. My daughter stepped backward, terrified. Don't say any more, the agent warned. Not here. But it was too late. Footsteps thundered into the hallway behind us. We spun around. The masked men had found us. The stranger shoved the tin into my hands. Run, he shouted. Protect her. Do not let them touch her. The agent grabbed my daughter. The stranger blocked the hallway, giving us seconds, only seconds, before the masked men reached him. And as we ran, my daughter sobbed. Mom, what did Dad do? What am I? I didn't know. But I knew this. Whatever truth waited inside that tin was powerful enough to make the whole world chase us. Behind us, someone screamed. Gunfire exploded. And we kept running, straight into the darkness ahead. We ran until my lungs burned. The hallway twisted left and right, a maze of concrete and flickering lights. Behind us, gunfire echoed like thunder. My daughter stumbled, and I yanked her forward, determined not to let her fall. The agent stayed close, pushing us through a steel exit door that led into a cold alleyway behind the garage. Rain poured down, soaking us instantly. "Keep moving," the agent barked. Cars sped by on the main road just ahead, horns blaring, lights flashing. The world outside looked painfully normal compared to the nightmare we were trapped in. My daughter clutched my hand, her voice cracking. "Mom, I can't breathe." I pulled her close. "Stay with me. We're getting out of this." We sprinted across the street. The agent stopped suddenly, raising a hand. He scanned the rooftops, then pointed us toward a narrow walkway between two buildings. "They'll lock down the whole block in minutes," he said. "We can't stay exposed." Lightning flashed. Thunder rolled. Every shadow felt alive. We reached a metal door on the side of an abandoned building. The agent kicked it in. Rust crumbled as the door swung open. Inside was a dark stairwell with peeling paint and broken steps. "Up," the agent whispered. We climbed. Each footstep felt like it echoed across the entire city. On the third floor, the agent led us into an old storage room. Dust covered everything. A single flickering bulb lit the ceiling. He closed the door softly. For a moment, there was silence. My daughter collapsed into my arms, shaking so hard I could feel it in my bones. I stroked her hair. "It's okay. It's okay. We're safe for now." But I didn't believe it. The agent paced the room, checking the windows and corners. "They'll find this place eventually," he said. "We need answers before they do." He turned to me. "Open the tin." My heart clenched. That stranger, the one who said my husband sent him, he didn't say to open it yet. What if it's dangerous? "It's more dangerous not to know what's inside," the agent said. "Your daughter's life depends on it." My daughter lifted her head, eyes red. "Mom, please. I want to know what's wrong with me." Those words shattered me. She was only a girl. She had no idea why masked men wanted her. Why her father's past was hunting her. Why her life suddenly felt like a secret. My hands shook as I held the tin. The blue glow inside had faded, pulsing softly now, like a heartbeat trying to stay alive. The agent knelt in front of us. "That glow, it's biometric. It reacts to certain DNA signatures." I blinked. "Meaning?" "It reacts to her," he said, looking at my daughter. My daughter's breath caught. "Why me?" The agent didn't answer. He didn't have to. I took a deep breath and slid my thumb across the tin's surface. To my shock, the lid loosened, as if it recognized my touch. The agent leaned forward. Slowly, I lifted the lid. Inside was a single vial, filled with a shimmering, silver-blue liquid that swirled like smoke underwater. And beneath it, a folded document stamped with 3 words. "Classified. Level 9. My daughter whispered. "What is that?" The agent's face went pale. "It's real," he murmured. "I thought they destroyed all samples." "Sample of what?" I demanded. He swallowed hard. "Your husband wasn't just undercover. He was part of a covert research unit dealing with genetic anomalies. Things that were never supposed to exist." My daughter hugged herself. "What does that have to do with me?" The agent hesitated, then said the words that changed everything. "Your husband didn't hide this sample. He protected it. And the reason they want your daughter is because she is the only living person who can activate it." "What do you mean activate it?" I asked. The agent pointed to the vial. "This substance reacts to very specific DNA. It was created years ago from a tragic experiment, one your husband tried to stop." Lightning flashed again, filling the room with harsh white light. Then, footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Slow. Heavy. Getting closer. My daughter grabbed my arm. Mom, they found us. The agent drew his weapon and backed toward the door. We're out of time. You must leave by the fire escape. I'll hold them off. No. I grabbed his sleeve. You'll die. He shook his head. I was trained for this. And they aren't here for me. My daughter sobbed. Please don't leave us. I won't let them take you, he said. But you must run. The footsteps grew louder. Closer. I grabbed the tin, the vial, the document. Stuffed them into my jacket. The agent flung open the back window. Cold rain swept inside. He pushed us toward the fire escape ladder. Go. Don't stop. Don't look back. A loud crash banged at the door. They were breaking in. My daughter climbed out first. I followed, gripping her hand. Rain soaked our clothes instantly. Inside the room, the agent aimed his gun at the door. He glanced at me one last time. Find the man in the gray coat, he said. He knows the whole truth. The door splintered. Black figures rushed in. Gunfire erupted. My daughter screamed. Go! The agent yelled. I climbed down the ladder, pulling my daughter after me as the firefight exploded above. Thunder roared. Sirens wailed in the distance. We dropped to the alley below. Rain and tears blurred together. My daughter buried her face in my chest. Mom, what is happening to us? I held her tight. But before I could answer, a soft voice came from the shadows behind us. You opened the tin. Good. Now you must choose which side you're on. Before she becomes their weapon. We spun around. And the man in the gray coat stepped out of the darkness. The man in the gray coat stepped fully into the alley, rain sliding off his shoulders in thin streams. My daughter pressed closer to me. I could feel her heart pounding as hard as mine. I took a shaky step backward. Stay away. He raised both hands slowly. If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't have saved you at the garage. His voice was calm, too calm, but his eyes, they carried the weight of secrets I wasn't ready to hear. The alley glowed briefly as lightning cracked overhead. For a moment, the world froze. The rain, the echo of distant gunfire, the fear in my daughter's eyes, the tin pressed against my ribs. Then he spoke again. We need to move, he said. They're tracking everything. Even the rain around you is not safe. What does that even mean? I snapped. You give us nothing but riddles. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Because clarity can kill. Knowledge is the most dangerous weapon right now. My daughter grabbed my wrist. Mom, let's go. I took a breath. Fine. Talk while we walk. He nodded once and motioned for us to follow him down the alley. We moved quickly, sticking to the shadows. The rain hammered the pavement in loud sheets, masking the sound of our footsteps. As we turned a corner, the man finally began to explain. Your husband, he said softly, wasn't just undercover. He was one of the last guardians of a classified project called Helix 13. I blinked. What was he guarding? Something that should never have been created. My daughter swallowed hard. And that thing inside the tin is the only surviving sample, the man said. A genetic catalyst. One that bonds only to rare DNA. DNA your daughter carries. My stomach twisted. So you're saying she's part of some experiment? He shook his head sharply. No. She was never experimented on. But your husband, he wasn't just protecting her. He was hiding her. Because her DNA is the key to activating the catalyst. I felt dizzy. Activating it to do what? He stared ahead, rain dripping from his chin. To unlock a sequence that can rewrite human biology. My breath caught in my throat. Rewrite? That sounds impossible. He finally looked at me. It is very real. And very dangerous. Your husband realized too late what the project he worked in was creating. So he stole the final catalyst and disappeared. He thought no one would ever find him. My daughter shivered. But they did. And now they want you, the man said quietly. Specifically her. Because with her DNA, they can finish what they started. We stopped at a chain-link fence. He cut through it with a small tool and guided us into another alley. Why me? My daughter whispered. Why do I have this thing? He slowed, met her eyes gently. Because your father used his own altered DNA to save your life when you were a baby. What? I breathed. He never told you he couldn't. But when you were born, your lungs were collapsing. Doctors said you wouldn't make it. In a desperate act, he used a modified serum from Helix 13. And it worked. It healed you. But it also made you the only living match to the catalyst's signature. My daughter covered her mouth in horror. So, I'm some kind of mistake. The man shook his head firmly. No. You're a miracle. The only success the project ever produced. And that makes you powerful. And hunted. My daughter's voice cracked. I didn't ask for this. No one ever asks to be born extraordinary, he said. But you are. We reached an abandoned subway entrance. The man forced open a barricaded gate and ushered us inside. The stairs led into darkness. The agents chasing you, he continued, want to use the catalyst for weaponization or control. But there's another group. Far worse. They want her because they believe she is the key to making themselves immortal. I gripped my daughter's hand tighter. Immortal. Yes. Helix 13 could repair cells, heal injuries, even slow death. But without the DNA match, it's unstable, deadly. So only she can make it work. Yes. And if she refuses? His face darkened. They'll take her. And force it. My daughter whimpered, tears blending with the rain. I wrapped my arms around her. Then, a loud metallic clang echoed through the subway tunnel. The man froze. That wasn't us, he whispered. We turned. At the top of the stairs, shadows appeared. Multiple shadows. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. My daughter clutched my coat. Mom. They found us again. The man in the gray coat pulled a device from his pocket, something shaped like a small flashlight. Stay behind me, he ordered. But before he could activate it, the darkness above us split apart with a familiar, cold voice. You should have kept running. A beam of light struck us. One of the masked men stood at the entrance. But this time, his mask was off, and I recognized the face beneath it. My breath caught. It was someone I knew. Someone who should never have been part of this. My daughter whispered, trembling, Mom, is that Uncle Daniel? My husband's brother. Standing with the enemy. He smiled faintly. Hello, kiddo, he said. Time to come home. The man in the gray coat whispered urgently. Run. Now. We ran. Down the dark subway stairs, deeper into the hollow tunnels where the air smelled of rust and old rainwater. My daughter clung to my hand as if letting go meant death. Footsteps thundered behind us. More than one set. Echoes bounced off the concrete walls. Faster! The man in the gray coat shouted. My daughter stumbled. I pulled her back up. My chest burned. My legs shook. But fear drove us forward. Behind us, a voice rose. Sharp, familiar, wrong. Uncle Daniel. You can't run forever, he called, his tone almost gentle. She belongs with us. She was meant for this. My daughter whimpered. Mom, why is Uncle Daniel with them? He loved Dad. He loved the project more, the man in the gray coat said, not slowing. Your husband quit. Daniel didn't. He thinks the catalyst is salvation. I swallowed the rising panic. And he'll hurt her? He'll do far worse than that. We reached the end of the passageway where two tunnels split. The man in the grey coat grabbed my arm. Left. But before we moved, lights snapped on overhead. White, blinding, buzzing. A dozen masked men stepped out from the left tunnel. Trapped. The man cursed under his breath. Right. Go. We sprinted into the right tunnel, but the lights flickered again, and then died. We were swallowed by pitch-black darkness. My daughter gripped my sleeve. Mom. I can't see. I can't see anything. It's okay, I whispered, though nothing was okay. The man in the grey coat clicked a switch, lighting a small blue beam. This way. We walked in silence except for our breaths. Fast, uneven, terrified. The tunnel sloped downward, water dripping from overhead pipes. Then, a sound. Metal against stone. Someone ahead of us. The man raised his light. A figure stepped out from the shadows. For a sickening second, I thought it was another masked man. But no, this person wasn't wearing a mask. His hair was long, tangled. His clothes torn. His eyes wild and frightened. He couldn't have been older than 20. He lifted his hands. Please don't hurt me. The man in the grey coat stiffened. Who are you? My name is Jonah, the young man whispered. They kept me locked down here. 4 years. I heard you running. He swallowed. I escaped because they're looking for someone. A girl. My daughter froze. Please, Jonah begged, stepping closer. You have to turn her in. They won't stop. They will burn the whole city to ash to get her. Stay back, the man in the grey coat said, raising his device. Jonah stopped, but his eyes glistened. You don't understand. I know what they're capable of. I survived their tests. Barely. My daughter's grip tightened on my arm. Tests. Jonah nodded. They want perfection. They want what she has. I stepped half in front of my daughter. And what is that exactly? Jonah took a shaky breath. Her blood can stabilize the serum. Without her, it destroys the body. I've seen it happen. It nearly killed me. The man in the grey coat muttered. That's why your husband fled. He saw one of the early tests fail. Jonah nodded weakly. But then, a voice traveled down the tunnel. Slow. Measured. Familiar. Daniel. Jonah, he said gently. Come back. You don't have to suffer anymore. Jonah's body went rigid with fear. No. 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 My daughter hid behind me. Please, Jonah whispered, nearly sobbing. Don't let him take me again. The man in the grey coat grabbed my shoulder. This tunnel leads to a service ladder. If we reach it, we can exit several blocks away. Move. We hurried forward, Jonah trailing behind us, limping. Daniel's footsteps quickened. He was close now. Too close. Stop, he shouted, his voice echoing like a command. You're making this harder than it needs to be. My daughter cried out softly. The tunnel lights flickered back on, bright, violent, washing everything in white. Daniel stood only a few yards away. No mask. Just a calm, almost disappointed look. You're running from me, he said softly. After everything your father tried to protect. The man in the grey coat stepped in front of us. Daniel, walk away. Daniel smiled faintly. I can't. Not when she is standing right in front of me. He took a step toward my daughter. Please, he said gently. Come with me. You're meant to finish what your father started. My father didn't want this, she cried. Daniel's smile faded. He was weak. You are not. He raised his hand. And in it, a small injector needle, filled with shimmering blue liquid. The catalyst. The man in the grey coat moved instantly, pulling something from his pocket, a device that hummed when activated. A pulse of energy erupted, slamming into Daniel and knocking him backward into the wall. Go now, the man shouted. We ran. Jonah followed, limping faster. Daniel roared, "Get them!" The tunnel exploded with movement. Shadows rushed toward us. Voices echoed. Boots slammed against the stone. Up ahead, a ladder. The man in the grey coat shoved my daughter upward. Climb. Don't stop. She climbed fast, sobbing, reaching for the hatch at the top. I climbed after her, Jonah behind me, the man in the grey coat guarding our backs. Daniel's voice thundered below. You can't keep her from me. She is the only one. We reached the top. My daughter shoved the metal hatch open. Fresh air rushed in. Mom, hurry. As I climbed out, Jonah grabbed my foot. For a split second I panicked. But he whispered, "Please, take me with you." I pulled him up. The man in the grey coat climbed last. But just as he reached the opening, a hand grabbed his ankle. Daniel's. Their eyes met. Daniel hissed, "You think you can protect them? You think you can hide her?" The man in the grey coat kicked him off and slammed the hatch shut. Rain pounded the street above us. My daughter gasped for air, terrified. I looked at the man in the grey coat. What now? We can't run forever. He shook out his soaked coat, breathing hard. We won't run, he said. Not anymore. Jonah wiped rain and tears from his face. Then what do we do? The man looked at my daughter with something that felt like awe. We prepare her, he said. Because whether she wants it or not, the catalyst is waking. And soon, she will have abilities none of them can control. My daughter stared at him, trembling. Abilities, she whispered. What do you mean? He hesitated. Helix, 13 didn't just heal you, he said quietly. It changed you. And the signs are already beginning. My daughter stepped back, her breathing shallow. And then, the street lamps flickered. Every one of them. At the same time. My daughter clutched her head. Mom. Something's happening. The lamps glowed brighter. Brighter. Until one of them shattered above us. Glass rained down. And in the reflection of a nearby puddle, I saw her eyes. Glowing the same blue as the catalyst. The man in the grey coat whispered, "It has begun." My daughter staggered backward as the blue glow in her eyes flickered like lightning trapped beneath her skin. Rain splashed around her feet, each drop seeming to pause for a split second before hitting the ground. Mom, what's happening to me? Her voice trembled, thin and frightened. I reached for her, but the man in the grey coat grabbed my wrist. Don't touch her yet, he warned. Her energy is unstable. Unstable? She was my child, not some device. I pulled my hand free and went to her anyway. The moment my fingers brushed her arm, a jolt of heat pulsed through me, not painful but powerful, like touching a live current. I gasped and snatched my hand away. The grey coat man nodded grimly. Her abilities are activating. This is only the beginning. My daughter's breath hitched, fast and uneven. Mom, I can feel everything. The lights, the rain, the people. I feel them like they're inside my head. Jonah stepped forward, scared but sympathetic. That's how it starts. When they tested me, the world felt too loud, too bright. The man in the grey coat shook his head. Your enhancements were partial, Jonah. Weak. She is the complete version. The only stable version. She will feel more than you ever did. My daughter pressed her palms to her temples. I don't want this. Make it stop. Please make it stop. The wind surged violently, swirling around her in a spiraling gust that lifted loose newspapers off the street and sent them flying. Calm your breathing, the man shouted. Slow it down before the surge spreads. But she couldn't hear him. She was slipping into a panic she couldn't control. I stepped forward again despite the heat radiating from her skin. Sweetheart, listen to me. Look at me. Just look at me. Slowly, shakily, she lifted her glowing eyes to mine. "Breathe with me," I whispered. "Just like when you had nightmares. In and out." She tried. Her breathing steadied, barely. The swirling wind began to slow. But before her power could fully settle, a harsh metallic screech echoed across the street. A drone. Black. Military grade. Hovering above us with red sensors blinking. "They found us," Jonah said, voice cracking. "No," the man in the grey coat muttered, stepping back. "That's not theirs. That belongs to..." A voice boomed from the drone's speaker. "Submit the girl. You have 10 seconds to comply." My daughter screamed, covering her ears. Jonah shook his head wildly. "That's not Daniel's group. That's the other one. The overseers. The ones who ran Helix 13. The man cursed. "We need cover, now." We ran across the street, ducking behind a row of abandoned market stalls. The drone scanned the area, its red beam slicing through the rain. "Why do they all want her?" I whispered fiercely. "Because she's the only stable vessel," the man replied. "And whoever controls her, controls the catalyst." The drone fired something, a crackling net of blue electricity that struck a nearby car, exploding its windows. My daughter cried out, falling to her knees. I can't control it. It hurts." Her hands shook violently, sparks of blue energy flickering across her fingertips. No, Jonah backed up. "She's surging again." The drone zeroed in on her glowing eyes. Target confirmed. The man in the grey coat grabbed my shoulder. "Get her inside that building." I nodded and pulled her up. But she was shaking so hard she could barely stand. Jonah helped me drag her toward the nearest door, an old laundromat, but it was locked. "Move," the man said. He slammed his elbow into the glass. It shattered. We pushed inside just as the drone fired again. The blast hit the doorway, blowing debris across the shop. My daughter collapsed behind a row of washing machines, gasping, trying to breathe. Jonah crouched beside her. "Focus on something small," he said softly. "A memory. A sound. A picture. Anything to hold on to." My daughter shut her eyes tightly, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. Her glowing hands dimmed, slightly. Then, bang. The back door of the laundromat flew open. Water dripped from the threshold as heavy footsteps entered. A figure stepped inside. Daniel. His clothes soaked. His expression strangely calm. The man in the grey coat moved to shield us. "Daniel, don't do this." Daniel ignored him. His gaze fixed on my daughter. "You were never supposed to suffer," he said softly. "Your father tried to save you, but saving you only delayed the inevitable." My daughter whimpered. "Don't come near me." Daniel knelt on the wet tile floor, hands open in a gentle gesture. "I don't want to hurt you. I want to help you. You can't control the energy alone. But I can teach you. I know how your father stabilized you as a baby." I stood in front of her. "You're not touching my child." His eyes hardened. "You still don't understand. If she isn't stabilized soon, her power will tear her apart. And maybe everything around her." The man in the grey coat stepped forward. "Daniel, your side will weaponize her." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Our side will save her. Yours will let her die." A deep hum filled the room. The drone hovered outside the broken front window, its red lights flashing. "Final warning. Submit the girl." Daniel sighed. "We're out of time." He reached into his coat, but not for a weapon. For a pendant. A small, silver pendant shaped like a spiral helix, glowing faintly, the same color as the catalyst. My daughter froze. "I've worn this since the day you were born," Daniel said. "Your father gave it to me. Told me only I could help you if anything ever happened to him." The man in the grey coat's eyes widened. "That's the stabilizer prototype," How did he get that? Daniel held it up. Because I was meant to protect her, he said quietly. Not you. My daughter's glowing eyes locked onto the pendant, and her trembling slowed. Her breathing steadied. The blue light around her hands softened. Daniel smiled gently. That's it. Feel it. You're connected to this. You always have been. For one horrifying moment, she seemed to trust him. Then, the drone smashed through the front window. Chaos exploded. Daniel shoved my daughter behind him, shielding her as sparks flew across the floor. The man in the grey coat grabbed me and Jonah, pulling us backward. Everyone down, he shouted. The drone charged its weapon again. Daniel raised the pendant, and a pulse of energy burst forth, slamming into the drone midair. The impact sent it crashing into the wall. My daughter gasped. How did you? Daniel turned to her. And in his eyes, I saw the truth. He didn't save her because he was family. He saved her because she was valuable. More valuable than any of us understood. He reached for her hand. We have to go, he said. Before the others come. Before this gets worse. My daughter looked at him. Then at me. Mom. What do I do? I grabbed her shoulders. You stay with me, I said. Always. Daniel's expression darkened. That's not the choice anymore. He stepped forward. The man in the grey coat raised his device. Jonah clenched his fists, shaking. The drone sparked on the floor, rebooting. The laundromat lights burst, plunging us into flickering darkness. Daniel whispered one final warning. If she stays with you, she dies. Then everything erupted at once. The laundromat shook as the drone reactivated with a sharp electronic shriek, its red sensor glowing like a single, angry eye. My daughter screamed and clung to my arm. Daniel stepped in front of her again, raising the glowing pendant, while the man in the grey coat pulled out his device, ready to counter. Jonah backed into the corner, terrified. Everyone get down! The grey coat man shouted. The drone fired. A crackling beam of blue energy shot across the room. Daniel swung the pendant outward, absorbing part of the blast, but the force still hurled him backward into a row of machines. My daughter cried out. Mom! I covered her head as debris rained down. The man in the grey coat slammed his device onto the floor. Lightning-like threads of white energy burst outward, creating a protective arc around us. The drone charged again, but sparks flew from its core, dying, struggling, unstable. We need to finish this, the grey coat man breathed. There's no more running. Daniel rose slowly to his feet, bleeding from his forehead, but still holding the pendant. This ends now, he growled. She comes with me. She is the key. We can stabilize her, train her, protect her. Use her, the grey coat man snapped. Not protect. Daniel glared. You think hiding her makes her safe? You think pretending she's normal will stop what's coming? Without guidance, she'll lose control and tear the city apart. She needs us. My daughter shook violently. Mom, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to be a weapon. You're not, I whispered fiercely, pulling her close. You're my child. Nothing else. The drone sputtered again. Its systems glitching. It would fire one more time, and if it hit any of us, we might not survive. Jonah cried out suddenly, pointing. She's surging again. My daughter's hands glowed bright blue. Her breath came short and fast. Her eyes pulsed with swirling light. The grey coat man paled. She's absorbing the energy from the drone. If she hits overload. What? I shouted. She'll explode with more force than that thing. Daniel staggered toward us. Give her to me. I can stabilize her. The grey coat man shook his head. If he takes her, she'll be used to finish Helix 13. Millions will suffer. So what do we do? I cried. Tell me. He held out his hand. Give me the pendant. Daniel snarled. Don't you dare. But something in the grey coat man's face, something steady, calm, broken, felt true. My daughter was shaking like she was trapped inside her own body. She needed help, right now. I made a choice. I grabbed the pendant from Daniel's hand. He shouted, "No!" I pushed it into the grey coat man's palm. He closed his fingers tightly and turned toward my daughter. Look at me, he told her softly. She lifted her glowing eyes, terrified. I know you're scared, he whispered. But you have more control than you think. Your father believed in you. He believed in this. He pressed the pendant to her chest. The blue light surged. My daughter screamed, not in pain but in release. A wave of energy burst from her, sending wind whipping through the shattered laundromat. The drone tried to fire again, but its beam fizzled, warped, and then my daughter absorbed it. The glow around her body softened, stabilizing into a steady, gentle pulse. Her breathing evened out. Her trembling stopped. The storm inside her stilled. She looked up at me. Mom, she whispered, I can control it. I collapsed to my knees, crying as she threw her arms around me. I held her like I would never let go. Daniel stared in stunned silence. Then anger twisted across his face. You made a mistake. That pendant should have been ours. The grey coat man stepped between him and us. Her father didn't choose you. He chose me. Daniel flinched. Why? Because he knew you'd become exactly what you are now. The drone sparked one last time, then exploded, collapsing the front half of the laundromat. Daniel staggered back. Sirens wailed outside. Multiple vehicles approached, not the masked men, not hostile forces, but regular police, alerted by the drone's crash. Daniel hissed. This isn't over. I will get her. He turned and fled through the back door before the police arrived. The grey coat man watched him disappear. He won't give up. I held my daughter's face, wiping her tears. Neither will I. Jonah walked toward us slowly, shaking. What happens now? They'll keep hunting us. The grey coat man reached into his coat and handed me a piece of paper, an address. This is a safe facility, he said. One built before Helix, 13 went dark. Only your husband and I knew about it. He built a failsafe, a place to protect her if anything ever happened to him. My breath caught. He knew this day might come? Yes, the man said softly. And he made sure she wouldn't face it alone. My daughter slipped her fingers through mine. Mom, I'm scared. But I'm also strong. I pulled her close. Yes, you are. The man stepped back. You must go now. All of you. Tonight. They'll regroup by morning. I nodded. Come with us. He shook his head. I can't. I'll draw them away. It's the only way you get a chance to disappear. Before I could argue, he turned and walked into the shadows. Jonah wiped his eyes. I'm coming with you. I'm never going back. I nodded. Then you're with us. My daughter looked at the pendant hanging over her heart. Its glow had faded to a soft spark. Mom, she whispered, do you think Dad can see me now? I hugged her tightly. I know he can. And I know he's proud. Together, we stepped out into the smoky, rain-soaked night. A new life waited, one hidden from the world, one built on survival, truth, and her unstoppable power. As we walked away, sirens echoing behind us, I whispered a promise into the storm. We will finish what he started. But we will do it our way. Please do me a favor, make sure you like this story, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Also, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful and emotional stories like this.